first thing that I want to talk to you guys about is kind of this idea that like you're being manipulative or doing something to a girl or something along those lines. You're not going to get laid without earning it for the most part. It's very, very rare that you don't actually earn it. All right, so I wouldn't worry there at all. Couple of things you need to understand, which I think you guys logically understand, but you need to make this like part of your soul. And some of you may not know it logically either. Is first of all, like girls like sex. They do, right? Whenever you see like a sex scene on TV or whenever you've been in a sex scene, who's usually louder during the sex? The man or the woman? The woman, right? It's because the woman is enjoying it more than us. And if you look at literally the female body is like designed for sex. It's designed for sex. It's designed for giving birth, right? A huge amount of their anatomy is about that, right? So sex is very, very big for women, right? In fact, again, women actually enjoy sex more than men. The reason why there's this stereotype that women don't like sex or don't want sex is because while women do enjoy sex more than men, historically, biologically, sex is much riskier for a woman than for a man. And so there's all these things like, you know, they have to be smart about it as much as they are very aroused by it. But understand that when you have sex with a girl, you're giving her a great experience, right? If you have sex with a girl and you never see her again, you gave her a great experience, right? And nowadays, especially when sex doesn't necessarily have to lead to reproduction, you're wearing a condom and that kind of stuff. You have sex with a girl, you're safe, nobody gets pregnant, you both had a good time, you gave the girl a good experience. It's not like you did some awful thing to her, right? So you guys need to understand that, right? The other thing you need to understand also is that women are actually grown human being adults, right? They make their own decisions, and they are very capable of rejecting men. And I'm sure all of you also know that. At the same time as you're like, I'm worried I'm manipulating this girl, you also are worried about getting rejected by a girl because you know that women reject men, right? They are very capable. You don't have to help them. You don't need to help them reject you. They're very, very, very capable of doing so on their own, okay? So you don't have to feel bad about that. There's a kind of a weird metaphor, it's from a movie or whatever, but there's a guy who was like a fly fisherman, and he had no respect for people that did like fishing with bait, because he didn't think that anyone who didn't have the correct skill to catch a fish should be able to like to humiliate a fish by catching it, basically, or to disrespect a fish by catching it. You don't have to worry about that in game. You're not gonna get laid without earning it for the most part. It's very, very rare that you don't actually earn it. All right, so I wouldn't worry there at all. But one of the biggest things you guys touched on, this is a huge one, is the idea that like you're maybe not enough, right? You're like, there are more interesting guys out there, richer guys out there, better looking guys out there, those kinds of things, right? Here's the thing. Every single one of you biologically is enough, right? Every single one of you can provide a better life and better experience for a girl than, going back to the environment we evolved in, than like the king of the tribe. Right? Every single one of you can provide more food, better shelter, more probability of the offspring surviving, and also probably a more fun life than that person could. Right? So each and every one of you is literally enough. Right? Each and every one of you is not only literally enough, but orders and orders and orders of magnitude above enough. And basically anybody beyond like a homeless person in today's society is enough, as far as that goes, in terms of the bare threshold. Right? So you absolutely 100% are enough. And looking around, you guys are way more than enough. You guys are not only that, but you guys are also guys who take care of yourselves, right? You guys have jobs. You guys have the free time and money to come to this event, right? You guys have the aspiration to try and learn and grow and better yourselves, right? Every single one of you, I can say almost by definition, by the fact that you're here, you're in the top few % of men, right? You would not be here if you were not. All right, so not only is like everybody enough, basically, but you guys are also way more than everybody. And here's the other part. Even if you weren't enough, who the fuck cares? Right? Do you guys watch sports? Who here watches sports? Do you guys like it when underdogs win? Yeah? Would you root for your team even when they're not the favorite? Or do you just give up on them? Right? Or if you were, I'll take one person. What's a sport you like? Yeah. Esports? Okay, I don't know enough about that. What's a physical sport that somebody watches that they like? Tennis? Soccer? Yeah. All right, we'll go. I know soccer better than tennis, so we'll go with soccer. All right, so what team do you follow?
Real Madrid.
Real Madrid. You love the favorites, huh?
Yeah.
All right, fair enough. All right, so let's say Real Madrid one of those years that they're way worse than Barcelona. All right, you want to think they're better every year, but one of those years where they're the underdog, right? When they walk into the El Clasico, do they walk out there thinking, oh, fuck, we have no chance, we may as well give up? Besides which, even if we win, we didn't deserve it, they're the better team anyway. Do they think like that?
No, they're like, oh,
let's fucking go get these guys. And they think even if these guys are better, and even if 9 games out of 10 they would beat us, this is the one game we're going to beat them, right? And they go out with the total entitlement. And then when they do pull off the upset, do they go in the interview all sheepish, be like, hey, listen, I'm sorry. I didn't mean for the worst team to win tonight. Sorry I let you guys down. No, right? They're fucking through the roof about it, right? And that's how you should be, right? If you get a girl that is out of your league that you don't deserve, fucking be happy. One of the beautiful things about Cold Approach is that you get to be, for the night that you go out, for the approach that you do, you get to be the best version of yourself that you've ever been if you choose to be, right? When I walk up to a girl and I convey myself the way I know how to convey myself, she thinks that I am one of the coolest guys in the world. And she assumes that every girl that talks to me must love me. And she thinks that like I was probably the most popular kid in my high school. She thinks all these different things because of the way I'm acting. She doesn't know that I didn't get laid until college. And I don't tell her that because that would ruin the experience for her. But as far as she's concerned, she's having the experience of being with this fucking amazing guy, which I actually am now as well. But even if I weren't, she had that experience of having that amazing night. And that's all that matters. You get to be whoever you want to be, right? And you get to, again, reinvent yourself as the absolute best version of yourself at the start of every single interaction, at the start of every single relationship, which is fucking beautiful, right? Even if like you were, a lousy boyfriend in the past, if you have decided and learned the skills to now be a great boyfriend, you get to step up and be a great boyfriend for this girl. And that's a fucking beautiful thing. Hey guys, it's Todd, and I have a serious question for you. Are you a guy who just likes watching these videos, or are you really dedicated to getting this part of your life handled? Because if you're the second type of guy, I have big news for you. My brand new live event, the Unfiltered Tour, is coming to a city near you. This is a full-day live event for men who want to master real-world cold approach and build core confidence for life. I'll be going in-depth on game's most powerful topics. Topics such as opening, hooking, sparking attraction, building value, talking to the hottest girls, and building relationships. As well as topics I can simply never address online without massive censorship. This isn't going to be me just standing on stage talking at you. Together, we're going to break down some of my best unfiltered infield footage step by step with no stone left unturned. I've also created new drills and exercises to make sure these skills actually stick before you leave the room. Last but not least, you'll meet local wingmen you can team up with, and we'll wrap up with a live open Q&A where you can ask me literally anything. To see the full tour schedule and to save your seat before they fill up, just click the link below. And if your city isn't listed, let me know in the comments so I know where to go next. This is 8 hours of pure, unfiltered cold approach. If you're ready to kiss your excuses goodbye, sign up at the link below. So number one, you are enough just by existing almost in modern society. Number two, you guys are fucking amazing for a lot of reasons, even beyond for all these other reasons. Number three, it doesn't fucking matter. Be the underdog. Embrace that. Go for it, right? Do I think I'm as physically attractive as every girl I've slept with? Fuck, was I as attractive as the girl in that video?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm not taking my clothes off in front of this man.
Anybody want to see it?
Yeah. No, but legitimately, that girl's way hotter than me, right? And you're gonna see throughout this, almost every girl you're gonna see is gonna be hotter than me. Okay? They're all hotter than me. Do I worry about that? No. And here's the funny thing from experience. When a lot of these will be one night stands and hookups, but when I've been with girls and I end up dating them or being with them for a few months, almost invariably, almost every single time, these incredibly hot girls with so much going for them, at some point in the relationship, 3 months to 6 months in, they say to me, Todd, why are you even with me? You're so amazing. You could get any girl. Why are you even with me? Why do you even like me? Right? Here's the other thing too. Each and every one of you, when you guys look around the room, when you guys look around the room, do you see pretty cool, good-looking guys with their shit together? Yeah? When you look internally, do you know all your own little flaws and little issues and stuff like that? Right? You know all your little insecurities, you know all your obnoxious habits, you know every time you scratch your balls, right? You know all these things about yourself that you don't show publicly, right? And so you're judging yourself on that. You're judging everybody else by the presentation they put out to the world. Worse yet, even by the presentation they put out on their social media in some cases, right? That's not a fair comparison. Be fair to yourself. Understand that you know all the negatives about yourself and you know people only as they present themselves. Grade yourself on a curve as well, okay? But the point is, you guys are enough. You guys absolutely 1,000,000% are enough. And even beyond that, it doesn't fucking matter. Be the underdog. Go win. Another thing, this is kind of a funny one. This is a side tangent, but I like it. Was it you that said about breaking up with girls, letting them go gently and stuff like that? So the very fact that you're thinking that is the best and worst thing possible. Okay? Here's why. Because typically guys who are too nice and hesitant and are worried about every step down the road don't get girls. Guys who just fucking go for it and don't give a shit are the ones that get girls. And that's tragic. Because the type of guys that are getting the most girls are not concerned about letting them down gently, are not concerned as much about giving them a good experience. And so if you and guys like you that think that way, were getting more girls, that's the best possible thing for girls. But if you, because you're hesitant about that, don't make a move, don't step up, don't go for it, don't lead, don't try and take a girl home because you're worried about, I don't want to let her down or I don't want this other thing down the road, you know what's going to happen? She's going to have no choice but to date an asshole instead of you, right? If you can't be the guy that has a couple of those kind of rapport-breaking sort of asshole behaviors that attract her and are deep down a good guy, if you don't cultivate your skills and allow yourself to get girls, she's going to have no choice but to date an actual asshole. And then she'll actually have a problem. Does that make sense? But the very fact that you're worried about that, the very fact you're concerned about letting the girl down gently, means that you're going to be good to her. It means that you are the type of guy who she should be with. Does that make sense? It's very ironic, right? Yeah. So getting into state is very interesting. Does everybody know what I mean when I say getting into state? Does anybody not know what that means? Flow, yeah, exactly, that kind of thing. And it's a very real thing. It is absolutely a real thing. When you guys go out, the first approach is usually harder than the third approach, which is usually a little harder than the fifth approach, right? And once you have one really good approach, it gets really easy. Or sometimes once you have one really bad approach, it gets really easy, depending on your personal, depending what your personal hangups are, right? If you have fear of failure, one really good approach will help. If you have fear of success, one really bad approach will help, actually. But once you have the certain right cocktail of things happen, it gets easier for you. And so knowing that, you should set up your practice when you go out, and we may talk about this a little bit at the end, you should set it up to help you. You should set up your practice to get you in flow. So if you know that when you go out, listening to music you love in the car on the way to the club makes you do better, you should do that. And you should do that kind of because you know it works, but you should not do it and constantly check, right? You shouldn't be on the way to the club being like, am I in state yet? Oh, do I need 2 more songs to get me in state before I go into the club? Right? Because as soon as you check, because being in state it's a subconscious, unconscious thing, right? You cannot make it happen consciously, right? Like, have you ever sneezed in your life?
Yes.
Can you sneeze right now?
Not easy.
No, probably not at all, to be honest, right? You could fake it, like you can do something. You probably can't sneeze on command, right? Because it's an involuntary function.
Yeah.
State is the same way, right? And in fact, if you were trying to sneeze, sometimes trying to sneeze makes it harder to sneeze, right? Right? It's the same kind of thing. If you try and make an involuntary function happen on purpose, you make it harder and you derail the process. And especially flow. Flow is the process of not being essentially self-monitoring and insecure. And when you're monitoring if you're in state, that's a self-monitoring insecure behavior that will draw you out of state. So what you need to do is have a series of behaviors that you know will get you into state, and you do them because it's the right thing to do, but you do them completely not caring in the moment whether they work. Just you do them because they're the right thing to do, and it's your routine. Right? In the same way that like a free throw shooter does his like tap, tap, breathe up, that kind of stuff, right? He doesn't be like, am I relaxed as I'm doing it? It's, he just does it because it's his routine, because he knows it's the right thing to do. And the routine will be different for each and every one of you. For some of you, it is approach everyone in the club until and just get started that way until you latch onto a girl. For other guys, it's walk around, and this is funny because this is actually me. It's completely the antithesis of most people. Walk around until you find a girl that actually kind of inspires and intimidates you, right? And that's the one that will get me in state, right? For some guys, it's go on the dance floor and dance like a maniac. For me, it's stay as far away from the dance floor as possible because I'm a shitty dancer, right? And so the exact things that get you in state will vary, but what you need to do is just understand what your process is and then just do it because it's the right thing to do, not because you're trying to get into state, right? So outside of the field, in the planning process, think about it. Once you're in there, just do it and just go with the moment. That makes sense? But each and every one of you, there'll be a process. And it can be short or long, right? Maybe it is a whole warm-up process you do. When I was first doing game, I would do 2 different things. One thing, whenever I wanted to do an approach, I'd be like, right? I just did that, and it just got me in a state. And then eventually, that's a little much, so eventually I just, and then I go do it, right? And just that little action was enough to like remind me. Or there's one video I may or may not show, we'll see. But like, it's my first approach of the night, and it's like kind of a difficult, like kind of a set that I don't want to do, moving, group set, whatever, on a like street corner. And so you've seen before, like stretching out and trying to get like feeling a little bit better. And even there, that just made me feel better just now, right? So you can figure out the things that work for you. You can figure out how to monitor your state and allow yourself those luxuries, right? If coming out of work, you feel like you're in a logical headspace, find some things that get you out of a logical headspace, right? But don't make it an excuse. That's the thing. Don't ever make state an excuse. And even if you are out of state, even if you're going to be at your worst, still do the approach, right? Because the girl doesn't, like, to have the mentality of I need to be in state to approach is a very low value thing to think, because the girl doesn't need to be in a state to talk to you. So do all the things, habit and routine, to monitor your state, but don't think I can't do it if I'm out of state. It's kind of like warming up, right? As an athlete, you should always warm up before you go. But in a life or death circumstance, you don't warm up, you just go. And you hope to God you don't pull a muscle. Does that make sense? It's kind of like that, right? So in the moment, you just got to do the best you can. Yeah.
So with me, like a lot of times, because I know, like logically, like I know, like, oh, you got to warm up, right? You got to, like you said, the first approaches you do aren't going to be the best.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like,
but you might still be good enough.
Yeah.
You might not be at your best, but you might still win, which is why it's worth doing.
And then I can't help but, like, in my brain, I can't help but like tell myself, and I'm like let's say I do 5 approaches and they're not great, and then I'm in state and I feel good, and then in my head I'm like, damn, like it sucks that the first girls didn't get to like meet the in-state Frank, you know. So then I'm kind of like, so the part of me, like, if I know I'm not there yet, in my head I'm gonna fuck it up, and then I'm just like, or this is gonna be somebody that's gonna get me to where I need to get to.
Sure.
But I'm like, oh, it's a shame that like she didn't get to like talk to the state Frank.
It is, but here's the thing: if you hadn't talked to her in the first place, there would have been no chance of her going on a date with you and meeting in-state Frank later on, or meeting great boyfriend Frank later on. So maybe the chances weren't optimal, but they were still better than 0. Whereas if you didn't approach it, they were 0, right? We still gave her the best possible chance of having a great experience with you, regardless of if you weren't perfect. And then that brings me to my last point, which is competence in a game plan, which is why eventually, even being out of state, you can be good, right? So do I still have state fluctuations? Yes, right? I have times when I'm way worse and way better. But because I've spent 26 years now in game, and I know what I'm doing, and I have a game plan, I have built up technique and skill, me at my absolute worst is still way better than me at my best untrained was. Like me in the greatest state of my life untrained would have less chance of sleeping with a hot girl than me on my worst day, worst moment now. And because what's happening is essentially there's like the noise, right? The state fluctuations up and down, and then there's the signal, which is your skill. And eventually the signal gets to be so big that it overwhelms the noise, right? So that even at your worst, you're better than you used to be at your best. And so that's, competence and game plan. Understanding, like I said, knowing all the little things to make yourself lucky, knowing what the next step is, knowing the tactics, right? And so that's what most of the rest of today is going to be about, is about competence and tactics, right? That's what I'm going to talk to you guys about a lot throughout today. And that's the one of the ultimate answers for state is, number 1, if you have competence and tactics, you can do it when you're out of state. And number 2, if you know you're competent, that helps you to walk up and be in a better state as well. Right, so I'm a big fan of confidence through competence. I'm a big fan of not allowing state to get in your way. But I wanted to talk to you guys about it and go through all this stuff at the start, because a lot of the rest of the stuff for today is going to be really, really technical. But it's also important to think about the psychological stuff, the kind of like inner game spiritual stuff as well. But my actual long-term best answer for being out of state is fuck it, just have good skills. Right, like would you guys? We're in Chicago, right? And he's old now, but whatever. But would you guys rather on your best basketball day? Do you think would you back yourself against Michael Jordan on his worst day, as an old retired Michael Jordan? Anybody here want to back yourselves? Why not? Because he has fucking competence. He has skills built over years and years and years. He's also 6'6", right? Which doesn't hurt, right? But you have fundamental ability that can overcome state, right? That's the end goal. Right? The end goal is state exists, it's a thing, do what you can to mitigate it. Because me in state is a thing to behold, right? But me out of state, I'll still take my chances against any one of you. In an environment where I'm not going to be there again, no. I am 0 concerned, maybe even less than 0, right? But in an environment where I actually have where actual reputation exists, yes. So if I was back in school, or I'll tell you even a story, when I was in school, right? I went to 2 different colleges. My first college, I didn't learn structured formal game, but I did a lot of approaches and they were fairly social, and I had no reputational issues whatsoever. My second college, I did much more structured game. I did a lot of canned lines. I repeated the same shit. I knew how to actually create very big emotions in girls, and I slept with a lot more girls at that school. But I also did get a reputation. Right? And partly that's because it was a very small school, the total student body under 2,500, so half of that women, right? And also a very small campus. But yeah, I actually got a little bit of a reputation as like a player, a guy who does approaches, et cetera, within my 2 years being there, right? If I had to go back and do it again, I would have gamed differently. Like I would do it differently. I would still have the tactics, the techniques, I would still know what an attractive guy is, but I would not do pure cold approaches nearly as much. I would do a lot more social, a lot more meeting people, a lot more getting to know someone over multiple encounters. I would structure my game differently in an environment where I'm gonna see the same people over and over again, right? An environment where I'm never gonna see someone again, I don't care and I'm not worried at all. Because I'm willing to tolerate a negative social experience a lot more than I'm willing to tolerate a negative statistical outcome. Right? I'm here for results. I'm here to win. I'm here to make the best life for myself. I'm not here to necessarily feel good every moment along the way. And that's where I prioritize. Does that make sense? On a practical level, also, most people don't notice you nearly as much as you think. Like, even a lot of guys are worried about like, oh, I've been in the room for a while and I haven't approached a girl. Is she worried? You're not that special. Unless she already really likes you, in which case you're good anyway. She probably hasn't even noticed you yet until you approach her. Right? So there's a lot of these things where guys overthink, and everybody likes to think we're the hero of our own little our own little dramas and stuff. But for most other people, you're not that significant. Right? Most people honestly don't care. Right? And even if they did, if you walk up and did like a very blatant approach, and like the whole room looks at you for a second, 10 seconds, 20 seconds in, they probably go back to whatever they were doing. Right? People generally don't care. Right? But yeah, in a small environment, in a social circle, I would make adjustments there. In that one particular case where actual reputation exists. If it's a tangible, real thing, I'll deal with it. If it's an emotional thing inside myself, I'll overcome it emotionally and do the right thing. Kind of makes sense? And that actually reminds me, one last thing. I was going to say this in there, but I forgot. I have a mentality that I really like that I would like to share with you guys, which is whenever I do a thing, and this goes to the drinking thing as well, stuff like this, I like to ask myself, is this an act of self-love, right? Or for me now, I'm a father, and so I have kids. And when you're a father and you have kids, you want the absolute best for your kids. You put so much time and effort and thought into every resource, how they spend their time, who's around them, what philosophies that are going into their heads, that kind of stuff. And you want to nurture them. You treat them with so much absolute unconditional love. The thing is, we don't necessarily always treat ourselves the same way, with that same amount of unconditional love. You want to ask yourself that, is this an act of self-love, right? For me, it's like, let's say if there's a girl that's kind of like below the standard I should talk to, if I go home with her, am I really going to feel better about myself afterwards? No, then it's not an act of self-love. If I, should approach a girl and in the moment I feel kind of like less pressure if I don't, that caving into pressure is not an act of self-love. Going and doing the thing is the act of self-love, right? When you're lazy and you should go out, but you stay and watch TV instead, that's not an act of self-love, right? So that's a criteria I like to filter my decisions through. And if you're constantly making decisions that are coming from, treating yourself the way you would treat a child who you love unconditionally, if you can do that consistently, you're going to do very well by yourself. So that's one more philosophy I want to kind of share with you guys that I think is helpful. And it goes to some of these other insecurities you guys have as well. All right, with that said, let's get technical. Let's look at some openers, shall we?